you for being here with us. Thank you. We love you. Have a great
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Move, you wet, keep up, yeah. We got make a dance couple time, yeah. Take a picture. I make me come up in here. Go, 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 go. Jeep, jeep. Come up in here. Jeep. I make me come up in here, yeah. Jeep. I make me come up over this, over this, come over this. See a hot girl, me a call her hello. If you see the guy dance and the face get mellow, hear me a tell you. Some of them think you change my fling. My enemy them me and listen working. Camera, action, flame. When we outside, lock down the building. Let me come up in here. And guess what? Lift, chicken on there. And guess what? Yes, them up. With the booty gas them. Yes, 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 yes,
surprise them with a bang bang, left them with a big crowd. Everything is sing, is a advice from this one thing. Bad mind, that never stop my thing. Them say that if I won, but me still a win. Now makes them me a do me own thing. Me not too like the show putting, put it on money dog, get it what
I'm Curlin Brown. Let's continue to inspire Jamaica. And of course, where else will you see it? CVM TV, of course.
Good evening and welcome to Lead Story. Happy New Year! As 2026 begins, many Jamaicans are making a quiet but deliberate choice to start off their new year. They're choosing less spectacle, less pressure, and more time together. Across the country, games nights, domino cards, and small gatherings are making a return, not as nostalgia, but as necessity. Tonight, we look at why these simple rituals matter and what they do for our mental health, our friendships, and our ability to reset for the year ahead. This is Lead Story. Good to see you for the new year. I haven't seen you, and I'm glad to be with you once again inside Lead Story for 2026. We're making sure that you start the year off right because for many Jamaicans, fun used to mean going out. Tonight, it more often means staying in. Dominoes on the table, cards on hand, board games on the coffee table. Not because people have given up on joy, but because they're being more intentional about it. So, to talk about how you can start off your 2026 being more intentional about cultivating joy, we're joined by clinical psychologist and president of the Jamaica Psychological Society, Dr. Paul Smith. Dr. Smith, welcome to Lead Story.
Hi, Jodie, and it's so good to be on.
Good to be with you as well.
To all the viewers, it's so good to be on.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you.
And the very same to you.
Thank you. For many people, they're starting off their new year and they're trying to reassess their entire lives. And they're really thinking, you know what? I'm looking at the amount of money I have. I'm looking at the amount of friends, family, and community I have around me. And I'm really thinking that it's important for me to put enjoyment, fun, and games into my life. Is this then something that you see people making intentional steps about at this time of the year?
Absolutely. And I might go even further that since the passing of the Hurricane Melissa, a number of persons have deliberately chosen to go back to basics. And I call this back to basics. That's how, we know the village to be. That's how we used to interact one with the other, before the onset of technology that tends on the negative side to separate us, and put us in isolation. So this is going back to basics where it all began.
This is going back to basics, but as you've spoken about Hurricane Melissa, a tragedy that had many people spending a lot of money and a lot of resources being expended in ways that they might not have planned to. Is this really about money, or is it more about a deeper fatigue with performative living for others and living for social media?
I think the games now bring it back to kind of living within a village. How do I cope now? Amidst all that has happened, the disaster and the money, the finance, how do we save, the mental health? How do we keep the psychosocial man going? And I think this is what is happening. How do we relieve the stress? How do we deal with the variables that we can't control? And I think it's a matter of looking at the variables within our reach, and say, all right, let us just, lower the stress level, manage the stress level, build more relationships, call up somebody who I've not seen before and say, just join me for a game. Or it could be within the family. Let us see if we can mindfully distract ourselves from all that is happening around us. And so this becomes very, very important, going forward. It helps with one man's mental health. And I think this is just a very good start, even to the beginning of the new year.
Dr. Smith, there are adults watching this right now who are saying games are for children, are picnicking that. And so they're understanding the importance of reducing their stress. They're understanding the importance, because they're hearing it so often, of taking care of their mental health. But what are people actually looking for when they choose these kinds of nights?
All right. So when we choose these nights, it lowers the cortisol, and the cortisol hormone is that stress level, and so when we mindfully, and I call it a distraction, because we're engaged in it, but we are deliberate in what we are doing, and it helps to reduce stress for one. It brings us together, and so I am not on my gadget in my room and my children are in the other room. It brings us together. It allows us to think. So it helps with cognition. It allows us to remain focused, and it just brings that bond that will help us to maintain that level of harmony that we need to in the mind. When we are distracted, we tend to think so much about what is not happening, and when we can have something that brings everybody together, allows us to laugh, allows us to have fun, allows us to concentrate, because based on what we're actually doing, it calls for concentration, it calls for focus, it calls for reasoning. So if we are playing a game of domino, you have to reason, you have to look at logics, you have to make sure that you are deliberate in what you're doing to win the game. And even if you don't win the game, it's still fun. It's the whole just having fun and laughing and relaxing. So it does a lot. It does a lot to the mental health.
I'm glad that you've highlighted what it looks like, because we have pictures and videos playing as you speak of dominoes. As people are watching, they might not be able to reason, but they can match. They can sort it out as they go along.
Jody, I can't play dominoes, but I match. And there are times when I match very well.
There you go.
You would never know that I am not a pro at it.
There you go. Well, we also have other card games that are Jamaican card games. So we have Kaluki, for example, that people will set up whole Kaluki nights, buy shuffling machines, learn to play that game. We've had Ludo boards here, beautifully painted ones at that, snake and ladder that you can play. And these are also child-appropriate games. As we're having these sorts of things that are Jamaican, did we ever lose this? Or are we just going back to now and prioritizing things that were always here in Jamaica, but we just yearn for a simpler, more intentional time of togetherness?
They've always been there, especially with the older generation. They're used to that. And the task that is set before us is that we need to kind of offer this alternative as well to the children, the present generation. You know, because I remember even for my family, my 2 children during Hurricane Melissa, we were without power for about 2 to 3 weeks, and they were like lost, not knowing what to do. The gadgets were not working, and they were up and about and confused. And I said, come on, let's go outside and let me show you how to play Dandy Shandy. Remember Dandy Shandy, Georgie?
Yes.
So we started playing. And they enjoyed it so much. And it took their minds off the fact that they could not go on the gadget, but there were alternatives. There were other ways that you could relax and make you laugh. So yes, we have it within us as Jamaicans in our culture. And we need to resurrect it now, you know, because it does a lot. You know, even those who might be involved in doing puzzles, you know, bingo. You know,
there you go. So we had bingo night with my family. So my family plays bingo. We also had Ludo and Kaluki. We played jacks. And I have friends and family who are involved in that. Chinese skip, dandy shandy, those sorts of things. As making sure, like deliberate actions for people to come together. But this is the community aspect that I want to focus your attention on, Dr. Smith, because it also is a low-cost way of bringing people together, especially after stressful periods. It allows for us to see card nights, dominoes, quiet gatherings together as ways to build community, to have people around, and to help you with the resilience that so many Jamaicans need during this very difficult time. What is it that you're hoping that people will have in mind to continue this throughout the year?
Yes, I'd love to see getting bigger and bigger, and the community, you know, is more involved in it. You know, when we have a good community spirit, you know, it does a lot to us. When the community comes together and we can find something in common to do, and we are united, and we can laugh together, we can put our differences aside and just have fun. And as I love the word you mentioned, we are deliberate in doing it. So all of these are investing in our mental health because the stress levels are high. You know, many persons are not coping very well, but here comes something that is inexpensive, you know, and can bring people together. You know, it is something that I wish, you know, we go forward with it. You know, just set a night or an evening aside, and it is games night, and people know, you know, and people can take their different games and have different groups, and those who do not know can learn, you know, and they're united. And I think it's a great way to go as Jamaicans and communities.
I think it's so important that you've highlighted not only the steps that people can take, but the things that they can do. But maybe they don't have community yet. You also spoke about puzzles, physical puzzles that you can make a picture with can be useful, Sudoku, crossword puzzles, find a word. Those are also things that allow for people to sit down and regulate themselves as well.
You know? And as I said, it goes to the fact that when you're able to just say, all right, win, lose, or draw, we're having fun, get united. You know, if I get a 6 long, you know, domino, I'm still having fun. And I go at it again and again and again, and I say, all right, the next evening around, I'm going to try to do better.
Good.
It is a little of motivation, you know, and friendly competition. It does so much to the mental health.
And I think that is so important that you have spent the time with us inside Lead Story tonight. At the beginning of a brand new year, as we tell you Happy New Year, to help us have a good year as well, Dr. Paul Smith. That was clinical psychologist and president of the Jamaica Psychological Society. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Smith.
My absolute pleasure, Jodie.
A job to have you with us. We'll take a break and talk about building infrastructure next inside Lead Story.
Hi Jamaica, my name is Fredrine Simpson, Public Relations Officer.
And I am Monique Bowen, Media Student.
On behalf of our Distinction College family, we would like to thank the entire Jamaica for making us the #1 City and Guilds ABE and CSEC private training provider in Jamaica.
We offer over 70 vocational, professional, and academic programs.
Start online and face-to-face classes in
geriatric, pediatric, psychiatric, and practical nursing, early childhood, childcare, phlebotomy, pharmacy, and medical lab technician,
housekeeping, food preparation, waitering, bartending, travel tourism, plumbing, motor vehicle electrical installation, AC, cosmetology, security,
customer service receptionist, supervisory, project, HR, and business management, CSEC, CAPE, and many more.
Registered for any program and get City and Guilds math and English classes for free.
Visit us in Kingston, Spanish Town, St. Elizabeth, Ocho Rios.
Call us 356-4167.
Happy holidays and a prosperous new year.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
It's a brand new year and we're taking you through all of the things that you need to have the kind of year you're hoping to enjoy with your family and friends. A happy new year inside Lead Story, and we're continuing our talk about games nights and the kinds of things you need to put in place to enjoy a solid 2026. Well, infrastructure is what we're talking about now, because we talk a lot about building physical infrastructure, roads, hospitals, and utilities. There's another kind that often goes unrecognized: friendship, community, the people who help us cope when life feels extremely heavy. To help us now figure this all out, we're joined by Dr. Nicole Plummer, lecturer from the Institute of Caribbean Studies in the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the UWI Mona. Good morning, good evening, Dr. Plummer, and welcome to Lead Story.
Good evening. It's very, very much an honor to be here, right smack in the middle of the brand new year. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
Your background looks very morning-y, you see, so it affected me as I tell you, Happy New Year, as you clearly had a bright start to your new year. Dr. Plummer, we are looking now as a country at 2026, where we've already heard bad news from family and friends. We've already heard bad news on a national level when it comes to the number of fatalities going into a brand new year. It's only 2 days in, but the infrastructure, the things that help us make it through both the amazing times and the really rough times is people in our lives. What happens when societies stop having people make time for one another?
Well, what we're going to see is a lot of mental health issues, because part of our coping strategy is the communities that we're around. And by communities, I'm not talking necessarily about the wider village. I'm talking about the community that you build, the bonds of friendship. And I'm putting in friendship the relatives that you have, that you get on with, because we all know that there are relatives that we all have that don't play a very integral part of our lives. So you're thinking about the community of the people that you choose, the ones that show up for you, the ones that you show up for. And so when you don't have that kind of community, depression is likely to set in, mental health issues will set in, and then you will have the deterioration of your physical self. You will have, you'll be extremely lonely. You'll find it very hard to cope. Your career itself can suffer. You oftentimes will find that some individuals who have very strong communities also have very strong careers, because there's something about people showing up for each other that really helps us to be able to move forward and to make successes of our lives and the things that we're involved in. There's also the very real aspect that if you do happen to find yourself sick, it's that community that will be there at the hospital, carrying your bag to the hospital, taking your bag from the hospital, making sure you have enough food to eat, and advocating for you when you cannot advocate for yourself. So some people will say, oh, family is there, but family will not always do that. So you have to think about the people who will show up.
I think that's important that you've highlighted that, Dr. Plummer, because you've not only told us the importance of friendship and having these community bonds around us, but also some of real life examples of how they make a difference with people and their lives and careers even. But you have a Jamaican cultural position as well that some people will take. No new friends. No new friends. Anybody who wasn't my friend before can't be my friend now. What does that do about preventing us from building more ties, building more community, and insulating ourselves from some of those mental health challenges that you spoke of a moment ago?
The fact is that we do have this culture that people, this thing of, oh, bad mind, right? So I hear it a lot, like, oh, bad mind, but we're not going to dismiss people's realities and what they have suffered. But I think what most people look for is authenticity in their relationships and authenticity in their friendships. And authenticity means if I'm showing up for you, you're showing up for me. It means that when my back is turned, you're saying things about me that are positive, you're uplifting me. Someone once said to me that you want to ensure that you have people in your life that when you are not in that room, they're going to say the very same thing similar to when you are in that room. And I think many people have been burnt. And I would say to them, take a chance, right? Because you just never know who is that genuine person. And there's also ensuring that you nurture those that show up. Because sometimes I find that we're there pouring out to people who don't deserve it and don't even want it. And the people who are there, who have been showing up for us, we are not pouring out for them. And so when we're not pouring out for them and when we're not doing for them, we're so busy watering a plant that doesn't need to be watered, and those that are helping us, we're forgetting them. And then we're going into this corner and we're saying, oh, I've been burnt. Yeah, you're burnt by the person that was never for you. What happened to the people? Are you overlooking someone when you're saying that?
And I think that's important that you've said that, Dr. Plummer, because you're saying to people, maybe your feeling of loneliness, maybe your feeling of isolation might not in fact conform with the facts of your life when you look at all these people reaching out to you and doing things for you, but you're only focusing rather on those who are not pulling their own weight, while you have people who are definitely pouring in to your life as well. Dr. Plummer, for those people who are pouring into our lives, we spend time with them in a Jamaican cultural routine and Caribbean really called liming. How do these gatherings function as a form of social protection when you have now this feeling that the people who are pouring into you, Dr. Plummer said, stop pouring into people who are not pouring into you. How do you pour into those people who now are in your corner?
I remember there's a colleague of mine that we were talking the other day, and she said, just show up. And showing up doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to always show up perfect or show up healthy or show up with you have a lot of money to give. Show up means that, do you have time to spare? Is it that you can show up by making a call every morning? Can you show up when they're sick? Can you show up when if you are able to help them financially, can you help them right now? If this is a young mother or a young father or just a caretaker with a child and you're noticing that they're very tired, they're very ill, can you show up by taking that child out for ice cream that day? Or if you don't want to, because some people have very real challenges relinquishing their children. So it could also be, can you come and help them to clean? Can you come and help them to cook? Can you cook and bring them food? So there are so many different ways in which we can show up. And that is what we need to focus on when we're thinking about the people who matter to us. Show up. right? Sometimes it's a case where someone is too tired to drive. So can you help them by driving? Do you have the time? So there's so many. It's for us to be creative and to say to ourselves, what can I do for this person who has done so much for me? And it doesn't always have to look like money, and it doesn't always have to look like the same thing all the time.
I think that's so important, and you've given clearly practical steps, especially low-cost steps as well, allowing people to bring people into their lives. Today, though, we're looking at play, we're looking at games nights, we're looking at these sorts of coming together, another low-cost activity that has people come together and build community. Play is not a waste of time, is what I want to talk to you about, because on screen now we have things like stress reduction, emotional bonding and mental health benefits that allow for adults to come together, play dominoes, play Ludo, play Kaluki, and then have those sorts of protections that you've spoken of. Talk to people who right now are saying, Jody, Dr. Plummer, I want to, but I'm not quite sure how that will go over with my friends.
Just show up if someone has a games night. The pressures of life, right? And I'm sure we just went through Melissa. And before Melissa, those of us who are in Kingston, we know about the traffic. Oh my God. The cost of living, everything just sends you up like this. Your head is about to explode. And if you don't take that moment to enjoy that games night, to go there and to just not have on your mind, even if it's for an hour, for 2 hours, just focusing on as you said, it could be dominoes, winning this dominoes match. These games are an outlet for stress, the laughter, the joking, the distraction, all of these things, they are so important in just taking you from here with stress to here with stress. And if you at least get this once a week, you have this. It might seem like you're wasting time, and listen, I can understand. The clothes are there to be washed. The clothes are there to be ironed, right? Dinner is there to be cooked, and I am notorious for that because, you're on it. You're on this machine. You're on this treadmill of life. And I'm not saying to you, you can afford to do it weekly, but if you can do it, because these are low-cost ways that help you to laugh, to bond, to get to know people, because sometimes you might know the people who are throwing the games night, but you get to meet new people. And games are a wonderful way to kind of know how people are, because there are some people who will cheat to win a game. And you
learn that about them as well, the cost of living, burnout, and the desire for real connection we have on screen here, showing why games nights are back. But you're also saying to learn the character of the people around you.
Listen, it's one of the ways that before you go and lend somebody money that you don't know, you get to go ahead and say, all right, so you always a thief? Okay, I'll give you a little bit of money, but I'm not lending you money. If I lend you, I know I'm not getting it back. You learn about a lot from people. You learn who is, when you play the games, who is cautious, right? Okay, this person is a very cautious person, very careful person. And you get to observe. So yes, it's fun. But if you like people watching like I do, game nights are perfect for that.
I think that is amazing that you have highlighted that, Dr. Nicole Plummer. Thank you so very much for joining us inside our first edition of Lead Story after the new year. Happy New Year to you and yours as well.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you so very much. That was Dr. Nicole Plummer, lecturer from the Institute of Caribbean Studies in the Faculty of Humanities and Education at the University of the West Indies Mona campus. We're taking a break and coming back to you inside Lead Story next, talking about learning that play was childish. Well, not a picnic thing we're discussing today. Adults, we're looking at you next on Lead Story.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is 6.
Somewhere along the way, many adults learned that play was childish, a picnic thing. And that fun was a reward. You only got it though after every single thing else that you had to do was done. It's part of the Jamaican childcare manual, but for many, that's the way they feel guilt around enjoying themselves. But science and experience suggest the exact opposite. You have to build in the fun that you want in your life. We're now joined, therefore, to help you figure out how to do that by life coach and CEO of Unlock You, Nikisha Powell. Hello, Nikisha, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026.
Bless the Lord. We made it to a brand new year. You're joining us inside Lead Story, though, as our first show coming back because people at this time are putting in intentional activities. They're looking at their lives and they're saying, here's what I want to do differently. Why do people have this urge, this desire to do things differently? And why do so many involve games in that plan for a new year?
Okay, thanks again for having me on your show. So typically the mindset for the new year is something new, an opportunity to start over, a new page, a blank page, right? So when we're doing that, typically we want to be intentional. We're looking at it to say, okay, this is a new me, and I'm going to go in with a new mindset to achieve certain goals. For most persons, they start off being very, very intentional. You know, we're on a high that we actually make it over to 2026, for example, or for a new year. And I mean, that's within itself to celebrate, for sure. So we're on this high, and definitely we want to start over. And for sure, when you are planning and taking in consideration your goals, you also want to think about the holistic man. And a part of being the holistic man is that you also have to include some form of game, some forms of pleasure as well.
You want to have that holistic man, that holistic woman, that holistic person going into 2026. But what is it about activities like games and laughter that work so well at reducing stress and contributing to that more balanced, holistic person?
So typically, most of us will find that when we're relaxed, we tend to have better ideas or clearer ideas in terms of our goals. It's a form of reset. Some persons, it's a form of coping mechanism as well. So things can be happening very, very stressful in our life, and we know that sometimes if we just step back and just breathe and sometimes just take things in, just looking out out in the sea, you know, going by Hellshore, even going out to the waterfront and just looking out, just taking it in and just sitting back, it does help.
It helps, but
does help.
But for many people, you're talking to them about the things that are helping them, Nikisha Powell. They feel like they shouldn't be doing that though, because they're looking and they're saying, well, you know, I don't really have the money for that, I don't have the time for that. The time is better spent doing more productive activities that bring income into the household. It's time to start a new business. If I have time to play, I certainly don't have the time to then be looking at that play time. I have child responsibilities, partner responsibilities, parent and guardian responsibilities. For many people, this idea of the play that is clearly going to help with their stress, well, they're saying I'm more stressed not having money. Nikisha, I'll talk to people about this balance that they clearly are going to be asked to strike as the year goes on.
Yeah, I totally agree, and those things are all important for all of us. We're fully acknowledged. So the first thing is always to acknowledge what's happening in your space, right? Once you've acknowledged, then you go through in terms of what it is that you can afford, or what it is that it can be affordability in terms of time. Outside of it being just time, you also have to be intentional. So you look at affordability not just in terms of money, but in terms of also your time. And you see how it is that you can best balance. So all of those things are going to happen. Those things are always going to be around us. But sometimes when we're in a stressful situation, right, we make mistakes sometimes when we're so quick in that stressful situation to actually go out and make it better. And sometimes we're not making it better. It's always good to just really set back and just reset, right? In terms of just laughter. Guilt is going to come from time to time, but also as we were growing up, we always heard the term in terms of, you know, all work and no play make Tom a dull boy. So it also can make us a dull person, a dull adult. So that proverb has not left us in terms of childhood. And even think about the kids around us. If they're just continually studying and just focusing on life, and yes, they may not have that responsibility, but it's still in the human aspect where we still try to give our children that balance in terms of ensuring that they're enjoying themselves, taking in life as it comes and breathing as it comes. It's the same thing in terms of ensuring that we put aside, you know, or that time that we need to laugh, that chemical that need to release from our body, that reset that we really need to, that intention that we need to set aside to make side for ourselves. We can't give from an empty cup. We have to also pour in ourselves, and pouring ourselves also include the laughter and joy.
I think that's so important. You did speak about that proverb, all work and no play makes, many people might know it as Jack, a dull boy. But the second part is all play and no work makes Jack a mere toy. For some people, they're not finding that balance even as well, where they're not seeing that there is some sense of responsibility that they will have as they find that balance. And especially during hard and difficult times, they might default now to just abandoning responsibilities and instead going to more play and more activities that they feel help them manage the stress. How do you help those people, especially as a life coach, in finding that happy medium?
So it depends, and it's normally go through on an individual basis in terms of looking at their holistic life on a whole. So for persons who sometimes you have to basically hold them accountable, I think that's where I come in as a coach in terms of, okay, accountability, or even if you have a mentor or someone, and sometimes it's just simply going through social media and something may stand out, or even programs such as this that will bring you back to say, okay, all right, we need to reset. And also, as much as we want to say they're leaning too much towards the playing aspect of it, we should also remember that we have to give ourselves grace, that everyone is not going to start at the same time. So even though it's January and most persons tend to start January, the most important thing that you have a start time and that you focus on that start time, because time is time. For example, I may not start, I may have a slow start now because I'm reflecting on what happened in 2025, and I'm looking at say, for example, what worked, what didn't work, before I actually start setting new goals, including, the joy aspect of it. Did I do too much joy last year? What percentage I want to achieve this year? And then also looking at, okay, now it's January. A lot of persons may start at January, but I don't have to start in January. I can actually start in April. And basically have someone who is going to hold you accountable if you know that you're not that disciplined, to know that, hey, remember you're starting in April.
I think that's helpful as well, because those guardrails are going to be incredibly important as people try to figure out what it is that they need to do. But you made a statement earlier that I want to dig deeper into. You said that it's important that people pour into themselves, not just pour out. You can't pour from an empty cup. But for so many people during this time, they're supporting family and friends. They're holding space for communities that have been destroyed after Hurricane Melissa. They are feeling weight, and they often feel that joy is inappropriate during difficult times. That, though, might be a harmful belief. Why?
Because you deserve joy. Also remember that we have if I should go there, we have a higher being, we have God, and everything happened for a reason. So I'm not saying that what happened to the victims, that's what is supposed to happen, but you were spared. And it's how it is that we look at it in terms of perspective, is it's okay to be happy during this time. Allow yourself to be joyful. You can simply be around the victims and persons who were affected by Melissa, and just you being happy help their space. You don't know who it is or how it is that you'll be impacting them. So it's pointless for all of us to be sad at a particular time, right? In terms of even using Melissa as example, as the most recent devastation for us, is you bring joy in different ways. So your joy, how it is that it's joyful for me, may not be the same for someone else. So it may be joyous for myself to actually volunteer and be around the person and offer all of that. That's my joy. Or my joy can look as if to say, okay, I'm going out and I'm going to a party, and that's also okay. So we need to be graceful to each other to know that joy may show up in different ways and persons may execute joy in different ways, and that is okay.
I think that's so powerful for many persons, because they feel down at this time, or they feel happy and they feel guilty that they're feeling happy, as so many people are going through so much loss and devastation. Half the country impacted by Hurricane Melissa directly, other parts of the country dealing with some of the knock-on effects of that storm. Before we take a break with you, Nikisha Powell, help us. What are some realistic, sustainable ways people can build joy into 2026?
Simple. Everyone has different means and ways, find different hobbies, but most importantly, always checking in with yourself. Self-reflection, self-examination. Firstly, probably on a weekly basis or maybe twice per month, depending. But for sure, check in with yourself.
You're checking in with yourself, but you're trying to check in. I check in with myself, Nikisha Powell, and myself is telling me something has to happen differently. Help us then.
Be patient.
Ooh, that's my word for the year. And we did that on Tuesday. If they were to do one thing differently for this year, though, what's that one thing that you'd encourage them to do?
Well, one thing I would encourage is really to just step back and just be present.
Step back and be present. I think that's very useful, especially as you might realize then in stepping back, being present, you might need more work, you might need more play as you make that then decision to be more balanced moving into 2026. We'll take a break with you, Nikisha Powell, and come back inside Lead Story as we're focused on games night, playing, and why you as an adult shouldn't leave it behind, especially as you manage all the joys and sorrows of 2025 and start your year of 2026. Stay with us here on CVM Television.
Delve deep into the issues. We'll We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Every dream conquered is another dream game. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music is a play, and the people them I say we are my show tonight. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights
Thanks so much for staying with us inside Lead Story. We're now looking at the 2026 reset because the games nights are happening all across the country with several venues putting them in place as people ask for more and more opportunities, not to party necessarily, but to enjoy themselves. And as the year begins, many people are stepping away from grand resolutions. They're not deciding to overhaul their lives. Instead, they're choosing small, repeatable rituals. One night a week, one group of friends, one protected space for connection. We're still here with life coach and CEO of Unlock You, Nikisha Powell, as we figure out what this is expected to look like for many adults in 2026. Nikisha, adults are looking now. They said, I don't want to have a whole new life. It's not a new year, new me. Maybe I figure the same me 2026, but I want to be a little more intentional. What does an intentional social life actually look like for adults with full and busy lives?
Great questions. And as the key word there is the intention, being intentional. So that doesn't mean for one person it could mean on a weekly basis. For some persons it mean on a monthly basis. For some persons it may mean quarterly or 6 months. So it comes back to you as the individual in terms of being intentional to ensure that with all your planning, you're including this aspect of it into your goals, into your life. That could mean with friends, that could mean with family, that could mean simply with your children or simply on your phone playing a game, but being intentional that you're setting aside you're looking at your frequency and the length of time in terms of doing that, since you're a busy person. So if you're a busy person, you can say, okay, every Thursday for 15 minutes I'll be logging on to play X game, and nowadays we have a lot of virtual games and we can play games with persons who are not physically there in front of us, etc.
And I have video games as well. So I own a Nintendo Switch. I just bought 2 games, Mario Kart and Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. I have Zelda. I have Civ. I'm playing those games with myself, community games with others, having this sort of intentional sit-down time. But we're moving away from those grand resolutions, Nikisha Powell. And other people in other years might have said, I will have 4 games nights a week. I will have 15 new friends. Why have we moved away from this grand resolution making into these simpler, more actionable steps?
Which is great and fantastic, because also we have to be realistic, right? And we don't want to set exorbitant goals that you just put in for putting's sake. we want to be realistic in terms of choosing the goal. So if we know, for example, so this is just one aspect of the goals that we're looking at. So there are other goals that you're looking at that also is going to need your time and attention. So if you really sit down and break down each area, ensuring that each area get the time, you may realize that, okay, I can't do 15, I can't do 20, but I can do 2. And then as a human beings, when we achieve at least one and we see how it feels and we celebrate that, it does something to us to motivate us to go to the next level. Is we feel accomplished, and when you feel like you have achieved a goal, then you feel more motivated to do others typically. So for sure, be realistic. We're not going to set 15 to say, oh, this is the 15. And then we also have to look economically as well and financially in some aspect that it may cost us a little bit more than what we've budgeted for to actually have 15.
All right, well, that's practical advice there. Those small actionable steps, getting that one goal checked off allows for you to feel that sense of accomplishment and add it to the additional things that you want to do, including making friends and building out community. Nikisha, though, for many people, they are saying to themselves, locks, man, I remember when I was at high school or university and I had to schedule time with my friends. We just met up, and they almost feel that it's a failure to have to schedule time with their friends, pencil it in advance, sit down and look at calendars to be able to make this possible. Is that just the nature of adulthood, or is that something that shows that your friends aren't really your friends after all?
No, man, definitely not. And it's not a failure, definitely not. It's just our way now of managing, fully in terms of our time. And time is gold nowadays. Time is valuable, and our friends will always be our friends. It's just where we are now in terms of our stage, or where you may be in terms of adulthood, in terms of the stage in your life, that the intention, and we come back to that word intention, and you're making room for everyone, not because they're not your friends or, oh Lord, for sure, remember our responsibility has changed as we go along. And then also, as I shared before, your intention is not just for this aspect, but there's other goals and there's other achievement that also going to be requiring your time, and you're just trying to ensure that you have a balance as you go along.
I think that's so important, that balance that you keep coming back to, helping us understand and appreciate that might be what we look for in 2026, that balance that you're speaking to us about. But for many people, as they're having and watching a conversation like this, they know people who are socially busy. Every pan that they're there, every event that they're there, you see them. But what's the difference between socially busy at every event and socially nourished, actually coming back from these events now and having friends, community, feeling that you didn't just show up, but people showed up for you as well, and you come back feeling energized and better off?
Okay, sorry, you were going in and out, so I missed
No. Let me tell you once again the difference between socially busy and socially nourished. The idea that you see people out and about all the time, but they're still lonely, that they're not getting people pouring back into them, that they're not going to these events and feeling that they're better off and they're stronger, having stronger relationships, better friendships, but instead they just attended all of these events and they came back. But when something happens, something important they want to share with someone, they look around and they might not have the set of people that they want to. What's the difference between socially busy and socially nourished?
So as I would share with even a client recently, you have to come to that mindset really and truly, or you really have to, in examining or self-examine, because as I shared in the beginning, when you're looking at setting your goals and putting together what it is that you want to achieve, right? Sometimes we put things that are long-term goals, medium-term, and short-term goals. When we already categorize that aspect of it, you have to be intentional now in terms of what your circle looks like. And sometimes that's a conversation we really don't want to have. So as you said, we have persons who will get up and as you say, as the Jamaican term is that every pan a knock, you're just going out there, just to go out there. Yes, it's your way of having fun and that's okay. But that for me is you just being socially busy. You can be intentional as well around your social, how it is, where it is that you go. You don't have to be going everywhere. They don't set that expectation that everyone should expect you at a particular event. Be intentional in terms of where it is that you go and who it is that you're surrounding yourself with. So that we have to have that hard conversation as well with ourselves in terms of the intention as to, or with others, to say that sometimes we outgrow certain environments, and therefore if we want to be intentional about this, the social aspect of it. So you mentioned friends, for example, from university. Even though you used to go to university with that person, based on where it is that you're in your life and your stage right now, is it that no, that university friend is really a friend that you need in your life, that is going to pour back into you based on what it is that you want to achieve? And that's a hard conversation a lot of us don't want to have, because we feel like we're no longer being loyal or we're being disloyal, or as Jamaican would say, okay, you reach certain way so you get hype. No, it's not a matter of hype, it's a matter of growth.
All right. Rapid fire for you, Nikisha. One habit that you want people to leave behind in 2025?
For myself, a habit that I'd like to leave behind, I tend to be an overthinker, so that's something I'll be definitely working on for 2026.
All right. And what's one social habit that you want all our viewers to take up in 2026?
Meet someone new, especially in your network or your area. So challenge yourself to meet someone new and introduce yourself.
All right, Nikisha Powell, coach, life coach and CEO of Unlock You. You've clearly helped coach us all today in having a better 2026. Thank you so much for joining us inside Lead Story.
Thank you for having me, and all the best for 2026.
Thank you so very much for joining us. Now, a show like this isn't meant to be light, you see. It is heavy, because joy doesn't have to be loud to be meaningful, and community doesn't have to be grand to be powerful. In a world that often feels unstable, and we go through Lead Story, take you through all those instabilities as well, the simple act of gathering, playing, laughing, and showing up becomes a form of care. As 2026 begins, many Jamaicans are reminding us how to live together matters just as much as what we achieve. I'm Jody Ann Quarry, and on behalf of the entire CVM production team, Happy New Year! And thank you for watching Lead Story. I hope